Resuming debate, the honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak on the amendments to the Access to Information Act and the significant reforms our government is proposing in Bill C-58.
We are the first government to significantly revitalize the access information system in Canada in 34 years, and it was high time we did so. The access to information legislation that is currently in place came into force in 1983.
That some have used to describe this legislation is antiquated. It's hard to disagree with this view when you consider that in 1983, government information was mainly recorded on paper and stored in filing cabinets.
Furthermore, the size of the federal government has significantly increased in the past 34 years, and as has the amount of information that it gathers. And the same thing goes for the number of access to information requests.
83, more than 750,000 access to information requests have been processed, and the number of requests the government receives has grown by an average of 13% annually. Madam Speaker, the current access to information system is under considerable strain. The information age has resulted in higher expectations for access to government information. Digitization and the Internet have made information readily available at our fingertips 24/7. Canadians now expect this level of accessibility from their government as well.
Canadians expect their government to be open and transparent. And Canadians expect to have access to government information in order to participate significantly in the democratic process and to require accountability from government.
Madam Speaker, as a member of the Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics Committee, the one thing we heard over and over again was that the 1983 Access to Information Act regime was not built for our times and it is insufficient to meet our needs. That is why we are committed to modernizing the Act to make government more open and transparent. This is what we are proposing to do in Bill C-58. First, the bill amends the Act to create a new part relating to a proactive publication. This would entrench in law for this government and future governments the requirement that government organizations proactively publish a broad range of information in a timely manner and without anyone having to make an access to information request. This new part of the Act would apply across more than 240 government departments, agencies, and Crown corporations, and for the first time, the Act would also apply to the Prime Minister's Office and Ministers' offices, senators and members of Parliament, institutions that support Parliament, administrative institutions that support the courts, and over 1,100 judges of the Superior Courts. This will create an obligation to proactively publish information that is known to be of interest to Canadians, and the system will be routinely reviewed so that the information that will be proactively disclosed will remain relevant and of interest to Canadians.
This information would be made available to all Canadians through government websites without any need to make an access to information request. Our objective is to continue to broaden the types of government information to be disclosed proactively. This step is consistent with our point of view, according to which government should be open by default.
Reflects the future of access to information in the digital age. And Madam Speaker, the future is now. Bill C-58 puts in place a range of measures to ease the strain on the antiquated access to information regime. Specifically, we will invest in tools to make processing information requests more efficient, provide training across government to get common and consistent interpretation and application of the new rules, allow federal institutions that have the same minister to share their request processing services for greater efficiency, and develop a new plain language guide that will provide requesters with clear explanations for exemptions and exclusions. Government institutions would also have the authority to decline to act on requests that are vague or made in bad faith. Madam Speaker, we want to make sure that people are using our access to information system properly and that it isn't being used to intentionally bog down the government. As an example of the type of request that we are talking about, there are some requesters that ask for millions of pages worth of documents without providing a clear reason for that request. Others will submit hundreds and thousands of requests at a single time. Such requests are not in keeping with the purpose of the Act, which is to give Canadians access to the information they need to participate in public policy-making decisions. At the same time, however, Bill C-58 amends the Access to Information Act to provide the Information Commissioner with the oversight of this new authority. Le demandeur.
The requester can appeal to the Commissioner if an institution or organization declines to process their request. The Information Commissioner can examine the complaint, and if it's warranted, the Commissioner could exercise her new power to order the information released in order to dispose of the issue.
This legislation affirms the right of Canadians to make broad and deep information requests that are consistent with the spirit of the Act. The bill also gives the Information Commissioner's Office more financial resources to do the job.
The Commissioner's power to issue orders is a significant step that will bolster access to information in Canada. This is an innovative step which could change the Commissioner's role from that of ombudsman to that of an authority with legislated power to order federal institutions to release documents.
Finally, Madam Speaker, Bill C-58 proposes mandatory reviews of the Access to Information Act every 5 years so that it never again becomes so outdated. And the first review would begin no later than 1 year after this bill receives royal assent. Madam Speaker, we can never become complacent when it comes to transparency. By revitalizing access to information, our government is raising the bar once more on openness in government. Grâce à ce projet.
Madam Speaker, thanks to this bill, we will be modernizing our legislation and an outdated access to information system.
Information law and system. We will strengthen the trust between Canadians and their government, and we will reaffirm the principles of openness and transparency as the hallmark of our democratic system. I am proud, both as a parliamentarian and as a member of the Ethics Committee, to support this legislation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments?